confession to make. I'm not actually 30. I'm only 29, so I'm guessing. No, I'm kidding. So I run a website called Crafting an MBA, which is business thinking for designers and makers. I'm also a jeweler. I'm here exhibiting in booth 722, but 722, for those of you who are interested. And Tara?
I'm Tara Gentili. I run a website called Scoutie Girl, SCOUTIE girl.com. And that's a kind of magazine site where passionate creatives connect, converse, and commune. I talk about the new craft movement. I talk about kind of, finding your passion and what to do with it. And I also run a business providing support programs for artists, sort of broadly defined. So I love working with artists and crafters and gallery owners and all kinds of people like that. But I also work with kind of artists more broadly defined as well. And I guess we can kind of go from there.
Yeah, so I think to start out with, we want to ask you guys a couple of questions, get the ball rolling. I think this should be as much a conversation as it should be, us presenting. So my first question is, what tends to be the target demographic of your store? What are you looking at now? Anyone?
Who do you get excited to see when they walk through the door?
Or who gives you their money?
Yeah.
Let's be frank.
They have gray hair.
Okay. All right.
45.
Okay.
But we love it when the younger ones come in and say, "This is my favorite store."
Excellent. Anyone else want to share?
What kind of clothes do they wear? What other kind of stores do they shop in? Okay.
All right.
Anthropology, Urban Outfitters,
Okay.
H&M.
Great.
So you guys are here obviously because you want to try to appeal to that younger crowd. So why is it that you're looking to do that? Like, what's your main motivation for being here today?
Because our old customers are dying.
Yeah, we were going to place that caveat, but then we thought maybe that was
Maybe want someone else would know
important.
what else do it. Yeah.
Or at least not collecting a lot of stuff.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Their houses are full.
You're looking for empty. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Looking for empty houses,
Empty
and
houses,
empty bodies, to put
wardrobes,
stuff
right.
That's awesome. Well, I think I just kind of want to start off by saying that I think that the younger buyer isn't that much different than the older buyer. I think that we tend to kind of put a lot of kind of psychological barriers up when we think of a young person. They don't have any money to spend. They don't want to spend any money. They don't know what they want. But
They don't, they don't value craftsmanship. They don't value handmaids. We try to think of all those things.
Right. But I think younger buyers, more so than ever, are really getting behind a movement behind investing. They're not interested in seeing this, kind of Walmart culture continue. They're not interested in buying goods made in China or in third world countries. They want to kind of invest in the culture that they have here. They also are looking for ways to kind of show their own personality through the objects that they buy. So I think that those things are things that your current customers already have. It's just a matter of kind of fitting the product
Right.
to that other demographic.
Yeah, I think so. And we're gonna check our notes for a second.
Yeah.
So and I think one of the big difference. So I think what Tara's getting at, and it's really key, is that the values are the same. The stuff that your current buyer values now, we value too, that younger buyer values too. But the biggest difference is probably in the aesthetic. So there's definitely, I think, a different aesthetic that the younger buyer is looking for. And part of it is that kind of rebellious, I don't want the stuff that was in my parents' house kind of thing. So there's definitely that kind of idea. So, and we're gonna bust the stereotype right now. Just because we're young doesn't mean we want like owls and foxes and whatever. That's not all we're about at all.
Skulls,
yeah.
I mean, that stuff is cool.
But it's not the only thing on our shopping list.
Right.
So, but I think there are a few trends that we're noticing that definitely seem to draw in a younger buyer. I think color is a big one. I noticed as we walked the show this morning trying to pick out some stuff that we loved, and we'll share a couple pieces of booth numbers with you guys. We're always drawn to the lighter, brighter colors.
But we're terrible examples of it.
I know, but our homes are not terrible examples of it.
No.
Our homes, we have bright, colorful art, bright colored walls. I think, you know, like when I walk the ceramic section, like we're, you know, things that are porcelain and the lighter colors and the funky prints, those are things that we tend to be more drawn to. I know we all have bad examples
Yeah,
of
we're terrible
color.
examples.
Resin, I think,
Bright
yeah,
colors
bright
with-
colors.
Enamel with bright colors.
Yeah. So I think color is a pretty big thing, and it's very much, you know, like if it feels kind of like a heavier color, we don't want that because, you know, there's a lot of stress in the world, so we want our stuff to feel happy. So I think that's a really big thing. What else do you think? I think. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say materials
Yes, that's
is
where I
a
was
big
going to.
thing, I think, for a younger buyer. You know, older materials used in new ways, like one of our friends, Sophia Masri, who's in booth 300.
300. Check it out.
She does really awesome, brightly colored ceramic jewelry. And ceramic jewelry has been a trend that's been around for a little bit now, kind of on the Etsy circuit, if you will. And she does a great example of that. Pieces that are small investments, but you know, investments nonetheless, that kind of give that younger aesthetic
Right.
with a kind of rich feel to it with the material.
And I think that idea of small investment is a good one. A lot of, especially for your female buyers, think about it, a lot of the 30-somethings have young kids. So even though they might like the statement piece jewelry, it probably doesn't work for their lifestyle. So they're willing to spend the money, but they're actually probably going to say, you know, I think like Tara's size necklace is a good example. You're looking for something that your 2-year-old isn't going to destroy or get tangled in. Like, I don't have kids, so that's why I can wear the big pieces still. But so I think that's really something, you know, to keep in mind is that buyer, they typically have younger children. I think that's something to think about in terms of like fashion clothing choices.
Right. So other materials, felt and fiber used in unusual ways, like used in jewelry.
Yeah.
That's been a big trend.
I think Knit is a good example of that. Knit is in 2222, and she's got some nice kind of funky color, combining some knitted materials,
Some ironic pieces.
Some ironic, yeah. She's good with the irony. We do appreciate the irony.
Yeah, she
That is a
has
good one.
a really neat, is it knit? Power cord?
Yes.
So if you're looking for like a tchotchke kind of thing for your store, tchotchke in a good way, I say that word in a good way.
Yeah.
That's a great example because it's kind of a fun, ironic piece.
Right.
Again, an investment, but a small one, something that you can kind of use to show your personality in your inner environment.
Well, and I think that's I think her piece, the knit extension cord is a good one too because we're a technology generation, so we like that kind of like technology meets tradition sort of thing where you take technology, you flip it on its head. Like, oh yeah, like I grew up with, computer cables and stuff like that, and you're like, oh, but that's kind of like funny and different. So we tend to, that stuff sort of resonates.
Yeah. Polymer clay, but
fresh.
used in very new ways. Solid color polymer clay, not so much the traditional patterns or the traditional like gradients, but solid colors, chunky. And the example for that is Yummy and
And I
Company.
didn't write down her booth number, but it is, I believe it's 735, Yummy and Company. And and some of these too, I know, talking to Jen from Yummy Company, she's a great example of it. It appeals to a younger buyer, but she's still got some older customers in as well. So she's really seeing a broader range. Just because you're shopping for a younger buyer doesn't mean that it has to exclude your traditional customers as well.
Yeah, and vinyl material, steel, you could pimp your own stuff.
I could, it's true.
Megan creates jewelry out of steel.
Yeah.
And she would say her demographic is a little bit older than what we're talking
Like
about,
40s.
but she's my favorite graphic jewelry designer, so.
Well, and I think that something that's really important to keep in mind, a lot of the reason that we're talking about, especially in jewelry, some of these other materials, is that, and you guys I'm sure all feel it too, that metal cost is coming up, the silver, the gold, and so, we're looking for something different that is kind of like a different investment. So that's why a lot of these other materials are coming up, I think, because they're a lot of bang for your buck, essentially.